For those who are not aware, I think everybody is, most people are, the role that Ohr Somayach has played across the globe in Klal Yisrael, every community that you go to, everywhere you go, you will find Ohr Somayach graduates. And the Ohr Somayach graduates are not only in a secondary role. You will find Ohr Somayach graduates who are the Rabbanim, they're the educators, they're the teachers, and in many cases they're the leaders of the community. I don't think that we ever ask anybody to do what they can't do, but anyone who is able to give away, has extra spare meiser geld or tzedakah money that's earmarked for tzedakah, I can think of no better area where that money can be put to use as a benefit to the yeshiva and as a benefit to all of Klal Yisrael. But somebody sent it to us, otherwise we wouldn't have seen it. I haven't been in a movie theater in 45 years. I haven't been at a movie theater in 40 years. I think the last movie that I saw in a theater, the last movie I thought I saw was Airplane.
Oh my gosh! What a good movie!
An Airplane. Airplane was the first of the genre of movies that had no plot. There was no plot. It was just one line after the other on the thing. It was absolutely, I just remember the place was rocking. Yeah, but you couldn't even hear the next line because people were laughing so loud at the people. That was absolutely a brilliant movie. Absolutely brilliant movie. I think that's the last movie that I saw. Right after that, the other ones came out. What was it called? With the adventure guy, Raiders. Raiders came out, and my brother saw it, and he told me all about it, and I wish I would have seen it. And the only other one that I wanted to see, was the Monty Python one, The Life of Brian. That would have been That's probably a mitzvah to watch that one. Okay, take a look at okay, we're talking about this woman. Now, we mentioned yesterday, we're at page 758. And we were talking yesterday about that, how she got to this point, and then she's embarrassed, terribly embarrassed. They lower her hair down, they expose her hair. And one of the ideas behind exposing her hair is that the Jewish girls did not. The girls always had their hair covered. Even single girls, the hair was covered. It certainly wasn't out flowing like a long mane, whereas the non-Jewish girls did. So part of her punishment when the Kohen goes and he lets her hair down is that he's making a statement to her. The Torah is telling the Kohen to do it, but the statement to her is, hey, listen, you wanted to be like the Goyim, okay, so then now we're going to let you be like the Goyim. You obviously behave that way, so now you're going to be like the Goyim. And everything about her, what she does, is she brings the barley offering. And we asked yesterday, why is she bringing a barley offering? It's animal food. And we said, well, she behaved like an animal, but she was innocent. Yeah, but getting into that situation was already the wrong thing. And I know myself from personal experience, every time I got in trouble, either with my parents or with a principal or something, I remember always I'm sitting in the office, I'm in hot water for something or other, which was not a terribly uncommon occurrence. And I remember I would always think, what would my older brother do if he was in this situation? And unfortunately, the answer was always the same. He wouldn't be in this situation. And he never was in that situation. And avoid the situation is the best thing. How does it go? Prevention is worth a pound of cure or something like that, or an ounce of cure. Prevention is something. 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think that's how it is. And that's a rule in life. Now, where did the trouble start? This is always a mistake that people make. The test is often not where you think the test is. So a guy says to me, I went to the beach the other day and then I stumbled because I looked at inappropriate things. Your test wasn't when you were at the beach. That's not where the test began. Once you're at the beach, you're at the entrance to Gehenna. That's not where the test was. The decision, should I go to the beach or not? That's where the test was. The test isn't when you're there. I went to a bar and I got drunk and behaved like an idiot. I failed the test. No, you failed the test by deciding to go to the bar, not once you were there. And then if a person has to know where is the point, where the test is at the crossroads. The test is at the crossroads. And not only that, the Gemara says if a person comes to a crossroads and there's one path that leads him into a very inappropriate area, and there's another path that leads him that's a lot safer, and he decides to go through the inappropriate area, close his eyes and not look at anything wrong, and he gets through successfully. The Gemara says such a person is a rasha. That was an act of inappropriateness. Why? Who told you to put yourself into a state of test? When we daven every morning, we say, Al tevinu lo lidei nisyan. Please Hashem, don't put us in a state of test. There are enough tests in life without us going and looking for it. And therefore, when the Torah says, what did she do wrong? It didn't start at the last point. It's, why did you even start chit-chatting with this guy to begin with? Why did it start? Why did you cross that? You failed that test, and whatever happens, that's almost inevitable. That's almost inevitable. Then the Torah says that at the very end it says bottom of 756. V'im lo nitmeha isho tahorahi. If the woman has not been defiled and she is pure, v'niksa v'nizra zara. Now, literally, it means that she will become, she will bear children. So Rashi brings down over here that if she had, it's the last two lines of the left column of Rashi. Left column of Rashi, last two lines. Im haisa yoledis bitzar teled berevach. If she gave birth with pain, so then she'll give birth. I mean, it always hurts, but it'll be an easier birth. Im haisa yoledis shchorim. If she gives birth to kids who are off the proper color, like literally means black, it means they're off the proper color, yoledis levanim. They'll be a healthier color. They'll be white, a healthier color. That's what Rashi says. Now, there is a medrash that says that first of all, the question is why? And I told you there's an opinion in the Gemara that she actually has, if she didn't have children, she will have a child. Now, listen to this, very, very interesting. Why should she have a child if she's innocent? I mean, at the end of the day, she has no tzedekis over here. Why should she have, according to that opinion, why does she have a child? The answer is, there's something called a bracha. What's a bracha? When you think of a bracha, we make a bracha. What does a bracha really mean? A person says to me, how is your business? Well, I've been blessed. We were blessed. What does blessing always mean? Bracha. Bracha, by the way, is related to the Hebrew word brecha, which is an overflowing spring. Bracha means expansion. They refer to the religious families in Israel as mishpachot bruchot yeladim, families that have been blessed with children. The secular call it mishpachot bruchot yeladim, blessed with many children. Blessing always means expansion. It always refers to expansion. God's name, Hashem's name by definition is expansion. If you put the water in, you erase Hashem's name into the water, and this woman is guilty. She dies, her husband, her belly swells up. Why is that? Why? What's the idea of that type of punishment? It's because God's name always means expansion. So she's going to expand in a negative way. But one way or another, there's got to be expansion for God's name. What if she's innocent? Well, she can't swell up. So what happens? What's the alternative? She expands in a positive way. She has a child. Or she expands, even according to the other opinion, she expands in a way that the birth will be easier. Obviously, a painful birth means it's not, it's a little too tight. So there's expansion. But one way or another, there has to be a concept. There has to be a result of drinking water that has Hashem's name. And by the way, the Gemara says that Dovid HaMelech, there was a threat of a flood. There was a threat of flooding. And Dovid HaMelech realized the only way to prevent it is by writing God's name on a parchment and throwing it into the depths to prevent the water or the depths from overflowing the earth. And he didn't know if he's allowed to do it until Achitophel told him there's a kal v'chomer. If God's name could erase to make shalom between a husband and a wife, it could certainly be erased in order to save the entire world. So Dovid HaMelech, they wrote God's name in a parchment and dropped it into the depths, and the water was prevented from flooding the earth. That's what the Gemara says. So here also there's the concept of this Hashem's bracha means, by the way, I told you in the past that the numerical value of bracha, Beis Reish Chaf Hey, is 227. Beis is 2, a Reish is 200, a Chaf is 20, and a Hey is 5. If you add it up, bracha equals 227, which is the same numerical value as Zachar, which is male. A male is bracha. A male is bracha. Female has a different meaning. Anybody know what female means? Nekeva. Nekeva. Do you know where the root of Nekeva comes from? You know where the root of Nekeva comes from? Take a look back for a second. Keep your finger on the place here. It's a very fascinating concept. Take a look at back in Parashat, in the book of Bereshit, where Yaakov Avinu arrives by Lavan. On page 150.
1.6 or 1.5?
150. No, it's not over here. It's where is it? Oh, sorry. No. It's further on in that parsha. Sorry. Where is it? 1 second. It's on 158. So Yaakov Avinu wants to leave. And he says to Lavan, look, I've been working for you all this time, but I've been working for you. I got to do something for myself. So Lavan says to him, okay, let's set a price. Tell me the price. Look at the wording, gentlemen. It's on 158, second line from the top. Lavan says to Yaakov, Vayomar. He says to him, Nokva schorcha olai ve'etena. Specify your wages and I'll pay you. So let's set a price. The word nakva, let's set it, is the exact same word letters as what? As nekeva, which is female. Bracha is expansion. What is nekeva? Exactly the opposite. Nekeva is exactly the opposite, is limitation. Nekeva means nakva schorcha. In the most extreme sense, when Bilam wants to curse the Jewish people, what does he say? Ma ekov lo kabo kel. How can I curse? Kabo is kabo, same exact root as nekeva. Curse, limitation. Obviously, the keva is not a curse. So you make a bracha when a daughter is born. You make a bracha when a daughter is born. It's a blessing. When a son is born, you make a different blessing, but a higher level blessing. But it's still a blessing. But at the end of the day, the natures. Look at female nature and look at male nature. Let me tell you, imagine this conversation taking place between a couple, and you'll tell me who said what. One of the pair says, I think that we should take a second mortgage, pawn 2 of the children, and invest it and go for the big one. And the other one says, no, we shouldn't take a second mortgage, and we shouldn't pawn 2 of the children, and we should simply go to our jobs and do our jobs and just put away a little money and save a little bit at a time. Who was the male here and who was the female in this conversation? Right? The answer is that you're already laughing. The answer is because in most cases, men are expansion. Men are always looking out there. Men are always like, a man stays at one job for 2.5 weeks. He's already getting tired of the job. He's looking to see what else could I do? Can I get promoted? Can I do something else? He's all over. And women are into nurturing, developing, which is why they carry the baby, because no man could do that for 9 months of nurturing and developing. And let's keep it right over here in this little box. This limitation, by definition, is what we call curse. Whereas expansion is blessing. The problem is that expansion without some sort of counterweight, people who have expansion without the counterbalance end up in prison. That's how it usually works. That's expansion without a counterbalance. And therefore, the bracha comes from the word an overflowing spring. That's the male nature. The female nature is like, let's just take this, develop what we have, and not get carried away. That's why you need that balance. Too much nekeva then you accomplish nothing in life. Too much of dekeva, then you go nowhere. Everything is limitation. So you need the bracha. That's why the two work. Then they call, what is it called? Yin and yang? Is that what it is? Yin and yang? Or Cheech and Chong? I like Cheech and Chong better. Shlomo, good. Somebody who can appreciate it. Are they still around, Cheech and Chong? Huh? Yeah. Class. Class. You guys, you don't know what Cheech and Chong is?
They're the stoners, right?
They were in Cars. I mean, what's his name was the voice of one of the Cars.
Was he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Who was he?
The hippie van.
He was the what? The
Oh yeah, the hippie
The
van.
Volkswagen.
Oh, wow, I didn't even
One
know.
of the lowriders.
Look at that. See what culture you get at Ohr Somayach? Unbelievable. Okay, now take a look at the next section. Okay, on page 758. Cheech and Chong, yin and yang. Anyway, Vayidabra Hashem al Moshe lemar. So what is it with the food? What's it called with the food? The when you're the healthy food thing, and not certain type of food, another type of food. Also some you know what I'm talking about? In the diet, in food, there's also some sort of what's it? Yeah, for the healthy, kind of.
The healthy version of yin yang?
Yeah, is yin and yang's not a food thing, is it? No. So what's the yin? There's something in the food also with some sort.
Vegan?
Yeah, that's the word. I think what's it called? Vegan and
Vegetarian?
no. What is there? There's something.
Gluten-free.
No, vegan.
Pescatarian?
There's like
No.
a counter down.
Yeah, they're vegan. Yeah, is there vegan and something else? Carnivore. Yeah, that's us. Yeah. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm a carnivore. Okay. Vav, page 758, Perek Vav. Vayidabra Hashem al Moshe lemor. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'amarta lehem. Ish o isha, a man or a woman. Ki yafli lindor neder nazir lazir laHashem. A person makes a vow of being a Nazirite. Now, what's the first thing you associate with a Nazirite? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
No wine, long hair.
No wine, long hair, and no coming into contact with a dead body. No ritual impurity, no tumah. But the first thing the Torah, most people think of the Nazir with the long hair. The Torah says the first thing is miyayin v'sheichar yazir. He has to vow off of wine and a strong drink. Chometz yayin v'chometz sheichar lo yishte v'chol mishras avonim lo yishte v'avonim lachim v'yaveshim lo yochal. Now, when he makes a vow of being a Nazir, he's off limits to not only wine, anything that could produce wine. He's not allowed to have grapes. He's not allowed to have dry grape dregs. Anything that comes from the vines, anything that comes from a vine from the grapes is off limits to a Nazir. Number one. Number two, he has limitation. He's not allowed to cut his hair for the duration of the period that he accepts to be a Nazir. If he does not specify how long he's a Nazir, he simply vows to be a Nazir, it's 30 days. If he says he wants to be a Nazir for 2 years, then he's a Nazir for 2 years. As long as he makes the pledge, and then there are limitations about what happens if he becomes tamei along the way, or if he cuts his hair. What happens? All the laws of the Nazir. But what does the word Nazir mean? What does the word Nazir mean?
Devoted?
It certainly has that implication. Yes, separated. Nazir means to separate. Nazoru achor, they move away. You move backwards. You withdraw. Number one. But Nazir also means a Nazir. What is a Nazir? Nazir is a crown. A Nazir means a crown. It's another word for a crown. What's the connection between a crown and another? First of all, Nazir is a crown. There's a certain move away from the king. You have to treat a king with tremendous respect. You back off. The king is not your chum. There's a distance between you and the king. More than that, a Nazir at one level has achieved a crowning achievement. What is the crowning achievement for a Jew? That a Jew behaves with self-control. My father, Olav Shalom, used to tell me, if somebody would ask you, describe, somebody who has never knows nothing about Torah whatsoever, would say to you, describe to me in one sentence, what is Torah about? So Hillel said to the guy, okay, what, don't do to others what you want. But what if I'd ask you a general theme, what is Torah about?
Separate.
Separate. Close?
Holy.
There are a lot of, holy is certainly, all the different descriptions people go about, godliness, holiness, consideration, they're all true. But if you look, there's one theme that goes through the Torah, it runs like a thread throughout the Torah, start to finish, and that is called self-control. The entire Torah is about self-control. Control what you eat, control what you look at, control your thoughts, control your anger, control your ego, control. It's all about self-control. From one state, it doesn't matter, touch it where you will, and there's going to be an element of self-control there. That's the entire Torah. Comes along a Nazir, and the Torah says, first of all, why does this, what's the connection? Remember, there's a rhyme and a reason. Why it starts with a Sota, and the next thing you know, we get to the Nazir. Why does this section follow the previous section? So the Gemara says, well, what do you think caused the trouble? What got her into trouble to begin with? There's a reason why in any frat house or any party, it starts with alcohol. The alcohol gets people into trouble. And therefore, the Gemara says, if a person, anybody who saw the Sota in her state of degradation should vow off of the wine. And it's teaching you that the trouble began with the wine. You saw it, and what did you see? You saw this woman getting punished. Yeah, but sometimes when people get punished, that could also trigger off a thought process. What did they get punished for? Well, she was involved with some guy and this, that, yeah. Really? And that triggers off a thought process, which could then get this person, ironically, into trouble. Therefore, you know what? You saw the Sota, vow off of the wine. Vow off of the wine for a little bit.
And an Nazirite can't go to the salon and hear all these stories.
Exactly. so the Torah comes along, the Torah says, make a vow of Nazirite. Now there are two questions over here. By the way, one of the sources says, what's forbidden to him? You can't drink wine. How about, could I have some grapes? Come on, what's the word grapes going to do? You eat some grapes, what's the problem? Nobody gets drunk on grapes. You get a little loopy sometimes, but that was from the sugar. But you don't go, nobody gets drunk on grapes. So why can't I have some grape? I can't eat some grape. What's the problem? The answer is that when it comes to the Nazir, the Torah is teaching you, not only the wine itself is forbidden, but anything that's even remotely related to the wine is forbidden. The Torah is teaching you, by women, we understand not only is the actual prohibition forbidden, but anything remotely hugging them, kissing them, chatting with them, getting silly with them, it's not just the Aveira itself. It's any of the other subcategories are also forbidden, just like they are by the Nazir. Yet the small, slight, little things are usher also, number one. Number two, why is it that if a guy takes vows for 30 days, pledges off a wine for 30 days, I mean, what's the big deal? 30 days later, he's going to be drinking wine. I mean, so what did you accomplish? What did you accomplish? So you were good for 30 days. So what? What did you? Okay, so 30 days is good, but what is it about it that's such an important thing? Why is it that there's such importance to the Nazir that he goes and vows off for 30 days? What did he accomplish?
Voluntary.
You did it voluntarily, okay, but what did you accomplish?
Self-control. Like, he has the ability to know that he can do it.
Excellent. This bullseye. That means the fact that I did it means I see I could do it. Sometimes in life we don't even believe we could do it. Oh yeah, you could do it. You see, you could do it. They always recommend when it comes to about what would you say is the hardest area or the hardest mitzvah to fulfill? What's the hardest prohibition to avoid? Probably lashon hara. Now we talk, and I talk about people. We talk about a lot of things. Now, what they recommend is when you want to start getting control over it, pick 1 hour during the day where no matter what happens for this hour, you will not talk about people, you will not speak lashon hara. Pick 1 hour during the day. By the way, it can't be from 3 to 4 a.m. Right? It's got to be during the course of the day. 1 hour that you won't speak Lashon Hara. So a guy picks, okay, from 7 to 8 p.m., I'm not speaking Lashon Hara. And nothing, no matter what anybody brings up, I'm not speaking Lashon Hara. For that hour. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boy, do I hate Reuben. No, that's not the goal. The goal is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know what? I made it. I made it through an hour. If I can make it through an hour, might be able to make it through 2 hours. If I can get through 2 hours, you know what? This is doable. I thought it's not doable. Yes, it is doable. That's what a Nazir accomplishes. I'm out of control when it comes to chocolate. I'm out of control when it comes to salami. I'm out of control when it comes to alcohol. You know what? For 30 days, you managed to stay off of the booze. Hey, you know what? You can do it. You can do it. For 30 days, you can do it. That's the goal of the Nazir. That's why it's a crowning achievement. You have, what you say, voluntarily taken on to grow. That's the goal of life. That we're willing to grow, we're willing to try, we're willing to make the attempt to take a step forward. So it's 30 days. 30 days is also good. Where else do we find a concept like this, gentlemen? We go through this every year. There's a concept like this every single year. Correct. The 10 days of repentance, Aseret Yemei Tshuva, where the halacha says during the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, there's a certain stringencies you should adopt and be careful about certain things. I'm saying right after Yom Kippur, we're back to where we were. Yeah, but you see that you could pick yourself up if you really have to. If it's urgent, you could pick. When you're really focused in a perfect driving mode, you could get there. You could get it. It's doable, and therefore the 30 days on Yom Kippur, the Aseret Yemei Tshuva for us is almost like the 30 days for a Nazir. Now.
He just has to proclaim himself that he's a Nazir.
Yeah, like any sort of vow. Let's say a gal pledges money to a shul. The guy says, "I'm going to give $100 to the shul." Once you say it, you're bound by a netter. The guy says, "I'm going to be a Nazir." For example, the guy says, "I'm going to be a Nazir for 30 days." That's it. Now you are bound to be a Nazir for 30 days.
He said it alone to himself.
So even if a great philosophical question, if a Nazir's in the forest, right? If a guy, yes. Even if you say it to yourself, that's how you make a vow, and you are now bound to be a Nazir. Now, there's another idea over here, by the way, which is that you see, when a person wants to atone, so sometimes our instinct is, well, you atone, or you're going to have to fast. You got a person we have fast days during the year, which are an atonement. The problem is that when you fast, we don't fast nowadays. We are weakened when we're fasting. We cannot study Torah properly, concentrate on davening, behave the way we should. We don't fast. A Nazir is not depriving himself. He's not putting himself into any sort of pain over here. He could eat. He could drink. He's just going on the wagon for a month. But he could eat and he could drink. It's not threatening him in any way. That's a wonderful way to try to grow, is that it's not threatening him in any way. It's not taking something out of him. It's just, I'll avoid it. You could eat dairy for during the 9 days, we don't eat meat. Well, it's okay. You could have soy and you could have cheese and you could have whatever else you eat and we make it. Well, we'll be fine. We're not hurting ourselves in any way. It's just a simple exercise in self-control. So comes along the Torah says, you know what, this is excellent. This is excellent. Take a look at Pasuk Gimel. Where is it? Not Pasuk Gimel. Pasuk Zayin. Sorry, Pasuk Zayin. Kol yemei haziro la'Hashem al nefesh lo yavo. All the days of his Naziriteship, la'avi v'la'imo la'achiv la'achoso lo yitam alem b'mosam ki nezer lo kaval rosho. The crown of his God is on his head. It's a crowning achievement. Well, it's a crowning achievement because he is taking steps. And this is a rule that's even small steps in serving Hashem. Small steps are important. To the contrary, that's the only way to grow is by taking small steps. But then, ironically, the Torah seems to contradict itself. Because the Torah says, Kol yemei nizro kadoshu la'Hashem. All the days of his Naziriteship, he is holy. He's got Kedusha. It's called Kedusha. That's on the one hand. But then, it says that at the end of Pasuk Yud Aleph, page 760, when he becomes Tameh, it says he has to bring korbanos. And on the fourth line from the top, it says, V'osa hakohen echad, one of the birds he brings, lechatas, is a sin offering. Ve'echad la'ola, v'chiper olav me'asher chota al hanafesh. He has atoned for having sinned. V'kidash es rosho bayomahu. Now, the plain meaning of the pasuk is that he came into contact with a dead body. But the expression of asher chota al hanefesh, take a look at Rashi, right column on page 760, 7 lines from the top. Rashi says, Me'asher chota al hanefesh, right column 760, 7 lines from the top. If you see it, please show the person next to you. Shalonizar mitumas habes. His sin was that he wasn't careful not to come into contact with the dead body. Rabbi Elazar HaKapar Omer, shetzir atzmo min hayayin. He caused himself suffering by vowing off of wine. So what was the nefesh he sinned against? He sinned against himself by depriving himself of wine. I don't understand. Rabbi Elazar HaKapar learned the pasuk that says that he's called a kadosh. The previous pasuk says, Kadoshu, Rabbi Elazar HaKapar, who appears in Pirkei Avos, he knows that, and yet Rabbi Elazar HaKapar says, oh, what is his sin? He deprived himself of wine. And you know what the real irony is? Have you ever heard the statement in Pirkei Avos? Hakina ve'ataiva ve'akavod. Jealousy, physical pleasure, in the pursuit of honor, jealousy, the pursuit of pleasure, and the pursuit of honor, take a person out of the world. You know who says that? Rabbi Elazar HaKapar. How do you like that? The very same Rabbi Elazar HaKapar, who in Pirkei Avos says the pursuit of pleasure takes you out of the world, says he has sinned by depriving himself of wine. What's going on here? What's going on? So the answer is that the Torah never said that we have to torture ourselves. To the contrary, we're supposed to live a very healthy, both physically and emotionally healthy life. If a person needs to drink some wine, is it forbidden? Nobody should ever eat a chocolate bar because it's just a pursuit of pleasure. Well, if we were born in the 20th century or 21st century, raised in a society where every meal ends with dessert, and we've been raised that way since we're 4 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, and we've gotten used to that, that becomes our standard. It doesn't mean I have to have 4 chocolate bars, but 1 chocolate bar or a piece of chocolate cake at the end of the meal, that's standard for us. That's our balance and equilibrium. Taking no prisoners means we're out of control. To a guy who every time he comes across a lemon meringue pie, it ends up looking like war-torn Europe. At that point, maybe back off a little bit. You're right. You're a little out of control. If every time a guy gets to a Shabbos meal and there's wine available on the table, so there's no wine available for anybody else because he's there, you know what? You're out of control. Back off a little bit. I had a guy once in a certain yeshiva. I had to tell the guy. I told him, I'm not a professional, and I can't tell you if you're an alcoholic. But I can tell you better get a professional assessment because you might be. I don't know enough to know if you are, but I know enough to know that you should get yourself professionally assessed. That's what I told the guy. So he's out of control. He's out of control. To have a shot here and there is not a problem. To have a cup of wine, a little Shabbos, you have a cup of wine is not a problem at all. That's why we drink wine. We know what wine does to people. We know that wine changes the mood. It picks you up. Especially, we're told Shabbos, you're supposed to get together with your family and be happy and be in a good mood. After an entire week, you just got home. The old days where people worked hard. You get home a half hour before lichtbenching, you manage to take a shower, now you got to run out to shul and come home, relax and be happy. Well, how does that happen? So you make kiddush on a cup of wine. Knock down a cup of wine, all of a sudden the world looks different. Knock down a second cup of wine, the world starts looking even better. Shabbos morning, I come home that's my favorite cup of wine all week. Is Shabbos morning making kiddush. Friday night's okay. Shabbos morning on an empty stomach, oh, yeah, that's the one I like. And then when everybody goes and washes, I knock down a second one real quick. My wife always says to me, should I take the wine off the table? Soon. Everybody's and all of a sudden, bring out, singing Zmiros, my favorite. Bring out the chol. That's normal. That's normal. But if you're going to get drinking dance on the table, drinking and dancing on tables, it's not. They're out of control. Now, comes along. What's the sin over here? Are you a person who should really be depriving yourself? If you're not, you're sinning. Are you a person who could deprive yourself? Then you shouldn't be. You should. But it could go either way. For one person, it's kedusha. For another person, it's deprivation. And you're doing the wrong thing. You're not holding by that. The test is, what does it do to your mood? I'm not going to eat dessert today. Yeah? And all day long you're crabby because you skipped your dessert? Then you're not at that level. You're not the Vilna Gaon just yet. And that's how a person, it could be both. Now, even more than that, the Ramban says that this person's sin is that you've seen how good it is to live with self-control. Why did you end your Nazirite-ship? You've seen how good it is. You see that it's doable. There's actually a story. This guy breaks into a barn to rob a horse. The guy owns 2 beautiful horses. And this guy decides he's going to steal the horses. So he breaks into the barn and he steals the first horse. In the middle of the night, he takes the horse and he manages to lead the horse away. Goes back for the second horse. He's in the middle of trying to steal the second horse, and just then the owner wakes up. He hears noise in the barn. He comes in, and there's this guy standing there with his horse. And he looks at it, he goes, "Hey, where's my other horse?" So he says to him, "Listen, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but you see, in a previous life, we were both around in a previous life, and you actually worked for me. And I was a really nasty, nasty boss. And the decree was, I'm going to be brought back in a reincarnation as a horse. And I'm going to have to work for you and serve you. And I was actually your second horse. But reincarnation, there's a time, it has a time limit. Time was up just now, and I turned back into myself. And was used to be your horse." The guy goes, "Yeah, well, that's strange. 1 second, you're wearing clothing. My horse didn't have clothing." He says, "Yeah, when you come back as a human, you come back with clothing." The guy says, "Oh, wow, that's unbelievable. See, you must be hungry." He says, "Yeah, the hay, eating hay just didn't do it for me." He says, "So just wait here, let me get you." So he goes into the house, makes the guy a whole care package full of food, and he says, "Listen, it was great having you working for me, but it's lacha." The guy says, "Well, thanks a lot," and he leaves, clutching his stomach, laughing. "Wow, that was a good one. I got away with that one." And he leaves. Okay. A few days later, the owner is out in the marketplace, and he takes a look and he sees his horse, the horse that the guy had stolen. He sees his horse. He says, "1 second." And he walks over to the horse and says, "What happened? You started being bad again?" So the Ramban is saying, "Hey, listen, you know what it was like. Why did you rejoin it? That's already sinful. You're already accountable for that. But it depends who you are. It depends who you are. And that's why in Yiddishkeit, it's always a question of trial and error. You're allowed to experiment a little bit. You can experiment on, let's see if I could do without this a little bit. We don't know how we're going to react. But if you see that it's too much, I know this is too much, I've taken on too much, then I have to cut back. It's not good. How do I know? So in my opinion, the acid test is, how do you deal with interpersonal relationships? If by taking on a stringency or by trying to deprive ourselves, a person feels tense and nervous, then he's not doing the right thing. Number one. Number two, never on essentials. That means the guy decides, listen, you need 6 hours. There's what you need and what you want. I need 6 hours sleep at night. That's not an area to cut. I need 6 hours. I want 11 hours. That's where you cut. I know how much I need. I know how much I want. I need a piece of dessert. I want the entire cake. That's where you start fighting. The fight is in the area of want, not in the area of need. And that's a trial and error in many areas. So what you were asking me before is a very important question. We need to relax. How much do we need to relax? It's very difficult to know exactly how much. But we do know one thing. Nobody can go burning the candle on both ends 24 hours a day. Everybody needs to kick back a little bit. And it's done in a healthy way. Yiddishkeit should not ever be something that's making a person tense and nervous. It's a serious business, and we're serious about it. But at the end of the day, it should be done, it's a healthy business. And there's no reason for a person who's working on themselves, and we're all trying to work, we're all trying to grow. There's no reason that the people around us should feel that we're growing and they're annoyed by it. If other people are annoyed by our growing, that means that we're doing the wrong thing. Just this morning in Shul, I heard that we got to Kriyash and davening, and one guy squawked out a cry, Shema Yisrael! Why do I can't concentrate on my Kriyash because this guy's squawking like a banshee? There's no reason for anybody else to be disturbed by your davening. If your davening is disturbing somebody else, then you're not doing the right thing. And that's a rule. Ironically, that Rebbe Elazar HaKapar says that Akina ve'atayva v'kovod motzina soda min olam, the pursuit, jealousy, the pursuit of pleasure, and he's the one who says, you're sinful for dying. That's the irony. We'll talk tomorrow about what that really means. All right. Shlomo just called it the Nazir. The Nazir.